So today we're making M&M's cookies. This batch is a triple batch because we've got youth group today, but the amounts that will be posted on the screen are for the single batch, and the amounts that I'm going to say are for the single batch. But just keep in mind that I'm not making a single batch of cookies. So we're starting with, right now, 2 cups of white sugar. The original recipe is 2/3 of a cup. And this is 2 cups of brown sugar. So we're just going to mix that together. You can use a handheld mixer, or you can do this in a KitchenAid mixer. It's up to you, whatever you have at home. If you're crazy enough, you can do this by hand, but your arms might be sore afterwards. The next thing we're going to add is the butter. It's ideal if you have the butter a little bit softer so that it doesn't take too much effort to mix it in with the sugar. This is called the creaming method, to mix the sugars and the butters first before mixing anything else. Oh, I should add, you should preheat your oven to 350 degrees, which we may or may not have not done yet. But there's still lots of time. Okay, once you get to this stage, really you could flip the bowl over and it shouldn't fall out, but I don't recommend doing that. Scrape down the sides of your bowl so that all the batter is somewhat in the middle, and then you're going to start adding your eggs. We pre-separated 3 egg yolks from their whites, but the recipe is just 1 egg and 1 egg yolk. For a single batch, again, we are doing a triple batch. And this requires a little bit of finesse and a little bit of patience because it will get messy. But you want to add 1 egg at a time and wait until it's fully incorporated before you add the next one. Okay, now it's time to add the vanilla. It is our last wet ingredient to this batter. And that is the sound of our oven, which means the oven is good to go. When it comes to vanilla, if you can't afford the pure extract, imitation works just as fine. Okay, we are using 1.5 teaspoons for the regular batch, but for the full batch, or for the triple, we're going to do 4.5. In a separate bowl, we are going to mix the dry ingredients, so flour, baking soda, and salt. For the single recipe, you need 2 cups of flour. Triple, we're using 6, obviously. And it is best to sift your flour before you measure it, if that makes any sense. So we'll sift it into this teeny tiny bowl, and then we're going to measure out 6 cups into here. Okay, we were just adding the baking soda to our flour. So a single recipe has 1.25 teaspoons of baking soda, and for salt, the single recipe is just 1/4 teaspoon. Pressure. All right, very gently because our bowl is a little full. We're just gonna whisk this together. You can also do this before you mix the sugar and the eggs and the butter. It's up to you. Alright, and now the fun part. Now we get to mix the dry goods in with our butter, egg, and sugar mixture. Keep your mixer on low, or as low as it goes. And you can start pouring this in slowly. You want to mix it so that the flour is incorporated, but you don't want to mix it for too long, otherwise it will overwork the gluten in the flour and it will make your cookies tough and dry. Okay, and we're done. This is the fun part. This is where you can add whatever you want to your cookie dough batter. We're using M&Ms because Halloween just passed and I have a lot of M&Ms, but you can use Smarties. You could throw in chocolate chips. You could probably even try throwing in Rolos. I think that would be delicious. Or you could just eat the cookie dough the way it is. It's up to you. But if you are using M&Ms or some kind of candy, the single batch recipe is 1 cup. For our purposes today, we're going to use 3 cups. And we're not actually adding the M&Ms to the batter. You get to put them on top of the cookies once you form them. So that makes it super exciting. You can have little kids do this. I used to make little faces out of the candy, which made my cookies that much more exciting. Alright, so now that your dough is made and your M&Ms are measured out, or whatever candy you're using, it's time to make your cookies. You can make these as big or as little as you want. So we're going to go a little bit smaller than what the recipe suggests. It does suggest to use a 1/4 cup ice cream scoop, which would probably get you cookies about this big, but we don't want them that big tonight. So you can do this by hand or you can use a tiny ice cream scoop, it's up to you. But basically, you just want to grab a little piece of dough, roll it into a ball, and flatten it in the palm of your hand. And space-wise, you want to leave about at least 2 centimeters between cookies because they will expand once they go into the oven. Oh, and it's ideal to line your trays with parchment, not wax paper. Wax paper will burn in the oven. If you do not have parchment, but you're okay with your baking trays getting a little dirty, you can put the cookies right on. It's really up to you, but this is a bit of a time saver for your cleanup later on. Alright, for placing the M&Ms, as I said earlier, you can just put them on however you feel like. You can make little faces. You can sort out the colors if that's something you really want to do. Yeah, this part is a lot of fun. You can adventure. Apparently I don't have many blue M&Ms. That's okay. Okay, it's time to put the cookies in the oven. So as mentioned, depending on the size of your cookies, these are going to take probably 10 to 12 minutes, but if you do bigger ones, it'll take a little bit longer. Just keep an eye on them. Set your timer for less time than you want them in so that when you come and check, they're not burnt. Remember guys, this Advent, think presents, not just presents. So a gift made with love goes a long way.